again, everyone, it's me, MadameMacabre, and welcome to a new video. Based on the title, I'm sure you know what we're going to be doing here today. I actually just yesterday went to go see the new It movie. Yeah, I know it's been out for a while, but I promised a friend I don't get to see very often I would wait to see it with her, so I had to dodge the spoilers so I could keep it fresh, but I managed to do it. And I figured, you know, I am not, by any means, a professional film critic. I'm not a critic in any means, really, but what I am is an avid consumer of horror media, so I thought I would share my thoughts for your consideration. If you don't mind potential spoilery things, and you're on the fence about whether you want to see this movie or not, perhaps it can help you make up your mind, because I've had people tell me that it is the greatest movie they've seen, it's amazing, and I've had people tell me it's horrible, don't even bother wasting your money. I'll just cut to the chase right now. I do not tend to be too artsy-fartsy with how I judge my movies. I tend to judge it, did I have a good time? Was I entertained? Do I regret spending my money? Do I want those hours of my life back? Easy peasy, I'm a simple gal. And I was entertained. I found it to be a fun movie, and I don't regret going. So in that regard, I can tell you, I thought it was a decent movie. I don't think it was the greatest thing ever because there was a ton of places it really could have improved, and I will get into that in a minute. But I also don't think it was complete garbage. So if you want to hear my ramblings on it, please go ahead and stick along. I will be talking on some spoilery things, so be aware of that. But anyway, let's go ahead and go. So, I guess diving right into the movie, right in the first 20 minutes, they've got a scene that is pretty controversial. Many of you probably already heard of it now. Spoiler alert, right off the bat. That's the scene where we have this poor, innocent individual who is brutalized and then thrown into the river below a bridge simply for being gay. And then Pennywise fishes him out and gobbles him up. A lot of people are very, very upset because it is actually showing a hate crime happening before your eyes on the screen. And yes, it is very, very uncomfortable to watch. That whole scene was very tense. You don't feel good watching it, and you genuinely hate the people doing it. But this is a rated R horror film. There is going to be shocking, disgusting violence and things. So people saying that there's no kind of trigger warning, you got to understand, actually look into what the movie got its rating for. They will tell you all the things that happen in there. So please, if you really need these warnings, actually read what got it its rating, because things like that will be in there. Little tidbit I should put in, not to derail too much, but this was actually based on a real world crime. Charlie Howard, it's an absolute tragedy. I would recommend looking it up because he deserves to be remembered. You know, I just felt like it's appropriate. I should bring him up as well, just to be respectful. Aside from that, the only other thing on the topic, I got a hardcore side eye. Some people, the people who are shocked and mortified that a literal child-eating demon clown that lives to murder and cause mayhem and evil did not, in fact, say gay rights. So now that the controversy part has been covered, we can move on to the rest of the meat of the film and all the other little nitpicks and things I had. Overall, I do have to say that the pacing of this movie felt pretty rushed. There were a lot of areas that I would have liked more explanation, more depth, but that seemed kind of squashed down and given a very surface level amount of attention. And there were also some areas, like side things, that I would have preferred they just not put in altogether. Like the kind of tiptoeing around the, oh, are they gonna be romantic? Are they gonna be romantic with Bill and Bev? Like, I know there's like a weird thing in the book and everything, but there wasn't time in the movie for that, having a fake out, oh, is there gonna be, like, for all the time that was dedicated to setting that up, more important things could have gotten screen time. I'm just being honest here. So yeah, the pacing was not the best, but I will give it some understanding because, after all, The original book, the source material, is 1,138 pages long. Trying to cram that down into just 2 movies is a tough job, and some things are gonna have to be compacted. It's just unfortunate because it did leave the movie feeling a little bit rushed. Another thing that really bothered me is a lot of the lore really got borked in the cinematic universe. A lot of the things explaining how things are, how they work, all that, it just got mushed around and changed, and the movie didn't do a good enough job explaining its version of the lore for things to actually make sense. I'm especially irritated with how the whole Maturin thing got handled, or lack thereof. I'm sorry, but a taxidermy turtle on a teacher's desk does not count as a proper cameo, and you can't just tell me that the root juice that the Native Americans made my drink is called Maturin, so Maturin is in the movie. We'll get back to this stuff a little bit later. I'm gonna touch on some other stuff first. Another thing that I did take issue with is that this movie raised a lot of questions that never got answers. And yes, the source material of the book may give you plenty of answers that you're looking for, but let's be real here, that's not a good excuse. This is a movie. Most of the time, when you have a movie-going audience, a lot of people have never read the source material and may never read it. You have to be able to stand on your own feet within your own context for it to really be good on its own. And if people leave scratching their heads and all you can say is, well, if you read the book, it'll tell you. No, you need to explain things within the movie. And they kind of drop the ball a little bit with that. Like, for example, bringing up the old lady, her dad, being the clown, like, it tries to hint in at the origins of how Pennywise got his clown form and all that. But really, it doesn't explain anything. It's so shallowly covered. All it does is raise a whole bunch of questions, and the movie just drops it there and never touches it again. So, I'll be honest, my friends who have not read the book were very confused by that. And when we were leaving the theater, all they just kept asking is, wait, so did that mean this really was this person? Is Pennywise not from space? Is he a human spirit? Or like, it confused them, and it just made it worse. As far as the actual horror in the horror movie goes, the ambiance was pretty decent. It had some good scares. It got me here and there. But overall, I really gotta say, they abused the hell out of CGI. And I am just... Maybe it's just me personally, but I am so over CGI and its overuse in horror. Give me the good old-fashioned practical effects. They are so much scarier than just a flood of CGI. Yes, you can make CGI look pretty good now, but it's still not as scary as actual practical costume and prop work. So many just wasted opportunities, because yeah, cool, we have the technology to do CGI, but it just doesn't scare my brain the way practical effects do. And continuing along my nitpick train, this one is actually a big one for me personally. This may not be a problem for other people, but just for me and my movie-going enjoying experience, as well as everyone else in the group who went with me, there was not nearly enough Pennywise in that movie. Yes, I understand the entity It can shapeshift and it does all these creatures. But let's be real here. Again, the average moviegoer will not have read the source material. On all the commercials, on all the flyers, on all the advertising materials, we have the clown. You know who's barely in the movie at all? The clown. You have Bill Skarsgård, who's an amazing actor. He's really good at making it creepy, and some of his, the few times he actually did get on the screen as regular Pennywise, he was genuinely really funny. It was very entertaining, and I'm just salty that they didn't use him enough. All the scenes that you just did a flood of bad, boring CGI, you could have had practical effects Pennywise out there genuinely being an enjoyable experience. But no, we want CGI Baba Yaga. How about instead we take the screen time and instead give it to some half-baked love triangle thing that's not actually gonna work out. Sure, give all the time to this boring thing instead of the clown that people paid money to come see. that all the materials say, come look at the clown. Where's the clown? And speaking of the clown, the defeat of Pennywise was the most anti-climactic cinematic thing I have seen in a long time. That was probably the single-handedly most disappointing thing about this film. Something that's said throughout this film multiple times, joking about writers. Loved the movie, hated the ending. Yeah, in the source material, there's a reason he's able to be taken down a certain way. The problem is, they don't follow the source material. They've already changed the lore, they've taken things out. They don't properly explain stuff to you. They don't tell you who Pennywise is, where he's come from, other than a basic, oh, a comet fell and then he was here. Cool, what else about him? Why does he work the way he does? What about his rivalry with Maturin? What about all this other stuff about him being this massive eldritch horror eater of worlds? Nah, you're not gonna give us any of it, but this massive eldritch being, you wanna beat him? Do a cyberbully. Cyberbully him and he'll die. The end. Are you happy? Satisfied? No? Too bad. I'm sorry, but the film, it didn't offer enough lore and explanation for that ending to still work. And the way it was executed was so poorly done that the two friends I came with never read the book, and they were genuinely confused. They were actually waiting for Pennywise to get up at the end like, ha, you thought that actually got me? And they were disappointed that it actually killed him because they didn't understand why it killed him. They're just like, they just bullied him. The clown, clown, clown. If chanting clown at him is all it takes to kill him, how was he able to terrorize the town this long? They were genuinely baffled and confused because the movie didn't do a good enough job. They tried to explain things here and there, but really you got a line or two of passing exposition that just, if you have not read the book, you're gonna be very confused as to why Pennywise dies. They try and explain it, but they don't do well enough. Now, since I just got through 15 plus minutes of ragging on all the weak points of the film, let's switch it up and I'll tell you what I do like about this movie. Despite all the points I just raised, I still liked the movie. It was entertaining. I'm not gonna say it was a terrible movie because I don't regret having spent my time there. I had a good time. There were some moments where we jumped. There were lots of moments where we laughed. And my friends and I, overall, we did enjoy it. I think they did a very good job casting the actors. A lot of them do look strikingly similar to the children they're supposed to be the grown-up versions of, and they're all pretty good actors. The writing, for the most part, was good. There were some moments where we actually got some pretty deep laughs all through the audience in the theater, so that was pretty good, because sometimes when movies try to be funny and they're not, that doesn't go over too well. Though it did, at points, kind of walk a line to almost too much shoving in scary moment, funny thing, scary moment, funny thing. But it walked the line enough to not bother me, so I'll give the writers props that they were good at keeping it entertaining. I think if the grown-up children in that, if the actors hadn't been as entertaining as they were, I would have been a lot more angry over the lack of Pennywise. Also, one thing I should mention that I adored about this movie is the Stephen King cameo. That was great. I loved seeing him in it. Also, it kind of shows that he was on board with the making of this version, so, you know, if the author is on board enough to get in and be involved in it, that's a good sign. He played it was like an antique store owner who is kind of a smartass. He was entertaining. It was good to see him. I know I spent far more time just ragging on all the negative points about the movie, but it comes from a place of I love Stephen King stories. This is something that I know it could have been better. I guess that's the really frustrating part is I like the movie that we got enough. It is a good movie, it is entertaining, and the average moviegoer will have a good time and will like it. People who are not like super avid like critics of horror, like if you are one of those, you're probably gonna have a lot of issues. But people who are just average moviegoers, most of them are gonna love it. But I have a big spot in my heart that's just disappointed because with just a few little changes here and there, it could have been so much better. Not to say that what it is terrible, but I know it could have been better, and that's the most aggravating thing. But again, that all being said, I did like the movie. I don't regret having gone to see it. And if you are on the fence and you're not like super hypercritical of horror movies, then I think it would be a good idea to go see it. You'd probably have fun. But those are just my thoughts. Catch you guys next time, and until then, remember, stay creepy. My rating of the movie? 7 out of 10. Needs more clown.